University and Jawaharlal Nehru University and Delhi universities. We have some footage, but when we saw that footage, many students were shocked. But the interesting thing is that many people don't know exactly. And some student asked me that, who has created this movie? Is it a movie of Vietnam or something? But they never believe that this is happening inside the country of India. It is happening in Manipur. But some people ask me, where is Manipur? Forget about the act, forget about this torture, forget about this exploitation, forget about this military rule in the last 5 decades. Many people don't know exactly where is Manipur. When we went to the Bhubaneswar, one of the students asked me, is it really happening in Manipur? Then what? And then he said, what can I do for Manipur? At that time I said that we don't need your cooperation. You do your study and we will fight for our own, because this is our problem, this is Manipur problem. But many students agree with me and they said that, no, this is not only a problem of Manipur, this is a problem of India and we will fight together.
It's a whole circle is to be looked into it. Therefore, like one nation, people from one country has to look into this aspect of the matter, because if it is withdrawn from there, then it will be deployed somewhere else. So if the act has to go, it has to go in totality. For scraping it out, you have to fight it out. Rights are not given on mere asking, they have to be snatched.
Tolstoy was, as you know, the great author. He was very much pained to see how the big landlords, you see, were oppressing their peasant serfs. And he wrote a very beautiful piece. He said, I see the misery of these serfs. I have full sympathy with them. I want to do everything for them. But I won't do one thing which will give them, they are not able to breathe. I want to give them full relief. But I won't do one thing, I mean, he was putting it in the mouth of I won't do one thing which will give them breathing time, and that is to get off their back. That is precisely what's happening here. Get off the back of Manipur people and others by withdrawing this act. There is no tinkering with it. No tinkering, no question of any don'ts or do's will give any kind of a protection to people who will be victims of this act.
I am one of those who firmly believe that the values of the country, the integrity of the country, what we call the asmita of the country, in Hindi, whatever the country stands for, its ethos, its integrity, that has to be upheld at all costs. That has to be upheld at all costs. And even if it means shedding of blood, one has to be prepared for it. I'm not in favor of violence, but if there has to be bloodshed for what you value, let it be so.
In the decades since the Armed Forces Special Powers Act was enacted, the number of militants went up from about 200 or 300 several decades ago to thousands of militants today. And the question we must all ask ourselves is this: has the Armed Forces Special Powers Act helped to combat militancy, or has it created militancy in Manipur and the Northeast? When I went with Justice Suresh to Imphal in the year 2000, and we interviewed the persons who had been shot at by the paramilitary forces and the families of the deceased persons, we realized that something very wrong was going on in Manipur. We came across a case, for example, where a militant had shot a CRP man while he was urinating in a toilet, and he ran away. He ran through the bazaar and escaped. The entire platoon of the CRP came to the marketplace and shot dead 13 people. Is that the kind of battle against militancy that we want in our country today. 13 people shot dead. And the army gives them 5,000 rupees each. I interviewed a person, a vegetable vendor, who was shot in the back and was paralyzed, lying on his bed for the last 10 years, unable to move. Is this how the Armed Forces Special Powers Act is to be used? And when the matter comes before the Supreme Court begins the proceedings by saying, we'll not look into how the act is being used. We'll not look into the conduct of the paramilitary forces in Manipur. We'll only look at the letter of the law. We'll only look at the black and white of the section. But I ask a question, can you separate the letter of the law from the way in which the law is being used? And if the two are so tightly intertwined that the law is seen as a license to kill, the law is seen as a license to torture, the law is seen as a license to rape, the law is seen as giving the paramilitary forces impunity, if that is the way the law is perceived and actually implemented, can the Supreme Court say, I'll close my eyes to that, I'll remain blind to that, and I'll say everything is constitutionally valid? Is that permissible?
I know it is a civil problem. This problem cannot be solved by military means. If it is a civil problem, then political initiatives backed by good administration and good management of the law and order situation by the police forces is the answer.
My opinion from student days is that this should not be used against citizens of a republic. That's my stand as a person. India is a republic. It's a democracy and a republic. When, for the first time, this law was invoked, made and invoked by the British rulers, that law has now been used by your own government against your own citizens. Isn't it horrible? Should we allow any longer? I think the feelings are deeply hurt, and feelings are very important because citizens are treated in this manner. They came out with placards saying, Indian Army, go back. I said, oh, that's the harshest thing they would have said. But they said so in Manipur. Because I've been here about a year. And if things are not handled carefully, I'm sorry to say, in my humble opinion, worse thing can take place in the near future.